Hello there my music lovers, I'm George from Audiophile Heaven and today we are having a look at Hiby FD1. This is a USB DAC and they mostly name it a headphone amplifier. I'm going to explain to you why they did this and we're going to explore how this very heavy yet not that large headphone amplifier sounds like. The FD1 is packaged awfully. It is so complicated to open this package without breaking into the device itself. As you can see, there is this little flap which is usually there to be able to place those like in a supermarket and such, but this actually makes it very complicated to open the box, and I'm doing this the second time now because I had to take a listen so that I can tell you guys how this one sounds like. And just when you're finally able to open the FD1, you see a pretty largish metallic DAC/headphone amplifier. Although the company gives it only credit for being a headphone amplifier, it is priced at $60. We are talking about very entry-level stuff. The color is silver and it comes with one of those separators made of silicone in the back. The device itself has two headphone outputs, one in balanced mode in 2.5mm and one in single-headed in 3.5mm. There is also the Type-C input port at the bottom, or at least I would think this is the button based on how the logo is written. There are a plus button, a play/pause button and a minus button on the right side of the device, and on the left side you have a selector between USB 2 and USB 1. To be honest, I was expecting USB 2 to sound better. Usually more is better, and USB 2 was supposed to sound pretty much better, but it sounds worse than the USB 1. I was able to use the FD1 with my girlfriend's Huawei P20, but I was unable to use it with my Pocophone F2 Pro. I have no idea why. I tried multiple cables, multiple positions for those cables, and I actually tried pretty much everything I could have thought of, but nothing worked. So at this point I do think that you'll have to check whether it is compatible with your smartphone or not. There are three cables included in the package by default. This is awesome, but at the same time it looks a bit like a mess. And the angled cable, which is the best looking one, is actually the worst of the bunch, and I'll explain in just a second why. There is this straight cable which is Type-C to Type-C, but you can see that it has host and Hiby written on it. You have to use the host part connected to your smartphone with the host text facing up, and you have to use the Hiby part connected to the FD1 with the Hiby text pointing up. Well, if you don't do this, it won't work with this cable. It is a bit of a mess, I'll be honest with you. Just how did they manage to make a cable that is not universal? I have no idea, I don't know, and I'm not sure if I want to know, but this cable is not that universal. The next cable is a Type-A to Type-C. This one works in every position with every computer I tried it with. This one works perfectly. It is a no problem cable, and I'm happy to report on that. The next cable is the angled Type-C cable, and it has Hiby written on one of the plugs. You better connect that Hiby part of the plug to the FD1, otherwise it may not work. Now this angled cable was pretty much the coolest. When I thought about Hiby FD1, I thought to myself that this is the coolest cable. You have an angled cable, how cool is that? You usually have to pay about 20 bucks just to get one of those, and the Hiby FD1 is 60 bucks in total, and I was extremely excited about it. I cannot contain my excitement. Just look at me, how excited I am. Well, the angled cable kind of disables one of the two headphone outputs. And the reason is that the Type-C port and the headphone outputs are all on the same side. So when you connect the Type-C cable, you are covering one of the headphone outputs. With the angled cable, there is no way around this. This black silicone pad is quite sticky and it helps stick the FD1 to your smartphone, but you may have a hard time taking it off after you decided to connect. There are also very tiny silicone feet on it, so you can use a rubber band and it won't scratch your smartphone. The guys at Hiby actually thought about it when they put a $6 USB DAC on the market. The main feature of the Hiby FD1 is having a ton of driving power. It is so powerful, I almost blew my eardrums out because I had IEMs connected to it. When I heard that it is a headphone amplifier, I thought to myself that it is just a marketing gimmick. Well, it is not a marketing gimmick. It is amplifier. It amplifies the sound. It has a ton of power, a ton of punch. It has a warmish kind of sound, a bit smooth in the treble, a bit warm in the bass, quite natural and quite easy to agree to and quite easy to enjoy. I must absolutely remind you that it is extremely powerful. Do not plug IEMs in it and leave it at maximum. You are going to quite literally blow your brains out if you do that. So please be careful. I almost made that mistake. It was so loud. It made me kind of dizzy for a while. To fully test it, I mainly used Hiby FD1 2020, and I also used Dorado from Campfire. And both of those revealed some things about the FD1. First is that it doesn't have a lot of hissing, and Hiby actually solved their hissing issue. They used to have quite a bit of hiss in the past, but now they have almost zero, and that is kinda cool. On the other hand, when using the USB selector, I actually had better results with USB 1, and I have no idea why, but with the Huawei P20 I was able to test the Hiby FD1 with. The USB 2 sounded more overdriven, but at the same time it had more distortion, less soundstage, especially less depth to the soundstage, and despite the LED light being turned to green, which is supposed to have a higher bitrate than the blue, which usually appears when connecting it via USB 1, the sound was better on USB 1. It had more depth to the soundstage, it created more room for the music, it had more detail and more resolution. So unless you absolutely must, I do recommend using the USB 1 with the Hiby FD1. So remember, FD1, USB 1, do that. FD1 is also a bit heavy, so compared to the size and weight of something like the Ear Studio Hue D100, which was quite light but also quite pricey, the FD1 is not so pricey but also quite heavy. This has almost 100 grams if not more. I have not weighted it, I have not read the specification, it just feels quite heavy. It also has a kind of a sound when you jiggle it, so and that jiggle is kind of similar to this little toy I got from DD Hi-Fi last Christmas, and I give you my heart. So compare the sounds, please. This is enough ASMR for one day. Let's continue with the Hiby FD1 review. The volume and the play buttons are enabled in all USB modes and they are detected, but it has a separate volume control from your smartphone's volume control. Basically, this means that it has a volume of its own. I can turn it all the way up and the smartphone still has its own volume, which was pretty cool actually, but at the same time, this is the main reason I almost blew my eardrums out. Because I left the volume on the smartphone at the maximum and I kept pressing this plus button because I was not hearing music. I kept reconnecting the cables, I forgot what I was doing, the smartphone was still at maximum, and at one random combination of cables with the FD1 it started playing, and then my eardrums almost left. They just left the video, and for the next few minutes I kind of had to remember who I was, what I was doing and why. So this makes a very good lesson. Do not just push the buttons on the plus, always push them on the minus and push the plus a few times to protect your hearing. Don't forget, your hearing is very important. It is the main part about this hobby that you're going to enjoy. At the end of the day, for 60 bucks, we are talking about a warmish, pretty wide sound with a pretty good amount of treble, although it is in the smoother style, so it can pair well with all of your chi-fi. It can drive Hi-Fi Sundara out of a portable at 60 bucks. That is a true accomplishment for Hiby. It has pretty low distortions even at maximum volume. It has a ton of driving power, and I keep insisting on this because it is its main feature. I mean, at 60 bucks you are just getting one of the best driving powers out there. It is pretty well built, it is fully made of metal, and if you don't mind that jiggle happening, you will totally enjoy the new Hiby FD1. Speaking of enjoyment, I hope you have also enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed it so much that you will subscribe to Audiophile Heaven. Also leave a like on this video if you enjoyed the video. I thank you for watching and I hope you have a lovely weekend there. Hope to see you soon. Bye bye.